20 years after the area was permanently closed, the Rainbow Tunnel was actually still fully intact, abandoned as a remnant of what once was.
A sequel to The Wizard of Oz that was fully casted, classics we love like Roger Rabbit and Puss in Boots, a Monsters Inc. sequel that had a script ready to go but never made it all the way, and why Tim Burton canceled the Nightmare Before Christmas sequel. We have all of this on today's Most Amazing Top 10 list. Coming in at number 10, we have The Rainbow Road to Oz. When I was a kid, pretty much every kid knew The Wizard of Oz. No, I don't know if the new generation has seen it as much as we did, and I can't blame them if they skipped it. The Wizard of Oz was made in the 1950s. It has worse special effects than a YouTube channel that has less than 1,000 followers. Trust me, the new generation is not missing much. But for its time, the movie was a massive success. It rippled through culture more than The Rock doing the rock bottom of John Cena at WrestleMania. Nowadays, if you make a movie that huge, especially if it's owned by Disney, you better believe that it's going to get a sequel, a cartoon, a toy line, and 1,000 other things that will make sure they suck the most money out of the film. But back then, having a huge success meant that the movie should stand alone in all its glory. This is the reason why the sequel to The Wizard of Oz, The Rainbow Road to Oz, was never made. The studio heads at Disney were working on the project, but it wasn't coming together. Even though the movie was fully casted and Disney had a script ready to go, there were fears that there was no way a sequel could live up to the original and would just bomb because people wouldn't accept an extension to the story. Also, apparently the script wasn't that good. But now that I have put this idea out into the universe, I'm sure someone at Disney will bring back The Wizard of Oz at Disney, because Disney loves nostalgia more than I do. And guys, make sure you hit that like button because it really helps us out. Coming in at number 9, we have Don Quixote. It shouldn't be a surprise that Disney has tried to make one of the most famous stories of all time and turn it into a Disney classic. I mean, we have already covered how much they love to work with nostalgia, and on top of that, do you think they wrote The Jungle Book, Snow White, Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, or Hercules? Of course not. Those are all based off of old stories or legends, so Don Quixote seems like it would be right up their alley. The man from La Mancha who would woo any woman and slay any man. He was the original bad dude that lived by the mantra, women want him and men want to be him. Now Disney would of course cut out all the sexy bits because we're trying to shove this into something that would be appropriate for a younger audience. And what would be the best way to do this? Well, of course it would be to have Mickey Mouse play him. Apparently there was a squash Don Quixote project that saw the legendary Spanish Knight played by the Disney mascot. I don't think Mickey pulls as much water as he once did, so if this project actually does see the light of day, I don't think we'll have him played by the famous animated mouse. Coming in at 8, we have the Bremen Town Musicians. Disney movies that are about giving everything up to go chase a dream are pretty normal, but back in the day they needed to have a more conservative message than the Bremen Town Musicians. Here's the backbone of the story. You have 4 main characters that are all getting up in age. You got a cat, a rooster, a dog, and a donkey. Now because of their old age they can feel themselves becoming useless on the farm, and they know sooner or later they're going to be replaced. Well, instead of waiting for Judgment Day, this motley crew decides that they will go to the big city and try and make it as musicians. Now if you ask me, that sounds like a great story, but most Disney movies of that era were either a princess ending up with a prince or some scrappy boy becoming a king. Basically in the end they all have a stable life, and a movie that might have inspired kids to leave everything behind to try and make it in the unstable world of entertainment could have sent home a message that got parents a little worked up back in the 90s. Coming in at number 7, we have DuckTales the movie. DuckTales used to be huge, a show about 3 rambunctious humanoid ducks who went to go visit their rich uncle who would jump off a diving board into a pool filled with gold coins. Yeah, the show was made in a time before the majority of the public had a burning hatred for people who flaunted their wealth. But ignoring a duck that's literally swimming in money while others are struggling to get food on the table, DuckTales was a show that was all about adventure and mystery. The gang going to far off places to seeing what the dark corners of the earth had to offer. I loved one of the DuckTale games so much that I used to play the DuckTale game endlessly on my Sega Game Gear. I don't think I ever beat it, and now I have this urge to go back and play it. I just need to get my hands on a Sega Game Gear. But there was one DuckTales movie, Treasure of the Lost Land, which was supposed to be the first in a series of DuckTales movies. Unfortunately for DuckTales fans, the movie kind of bombed in the box office, and all future movies were thrown in the trash. Coming in at number 6, we have Puss in Boots. Way before DreamWorks took the now beloved character and brought him into the Shrekverse, there was a movie in the works that was supposed to star the little feline in shoes. This movie was supposed to come out in 1991, but some complications meant that it never made it to the big screen. It was going to star Little Cat in Big Shoes in a hand-drawn adventure, probably saving a princess because that's what all those stories were about back then. But I'm happy that this one never came to the light of day because now we have the Shrek Puss in Boots. Coming in number 5, we have Where is Roger Rabbit? For some, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a very important part of our childhood, and when you go back to watch it now, you might be surprised that our parents let us watch it. I mean, Jessica Rabbit isn't the most child-appropriate character that has ever been in a kids movie. Let's just say that if they did a remake today, she would get the Lola Bunny treatment times 1,000,000. But there were plans to bring the hyperactive rabbit and the My Way or the Highway detective back to the big screen in a movie that was called Where is Roger Rabbit, which I assume was the same detective trying to hunt down the famous animated actor who had disappeared. This movie was slated for the early 90s, so there probably would have been just as much cleavage. Coming in at number 4, we have The Nightmare Before Christmas 2. When I tell you there was a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas that was cancelled, there are going to be a few people watching this that are going to be furious, and trust me, I'm one of them. I always pick this as my favorite Disney movie, well, either Nightmare Before Christmas or Hercules. But Nightmare Before Christmas was so good, and there was so much left to explore. Why did we not get more from Jack Skellington? Well, rumor has it that Disney wanted the movie, but they wanted to make one major change. Instead of having the movie all shot in stop motion animation, they wanted to move it to CG. Now obviously a big part of the movie is the look of the stop motion animation. Director Tim Burton understood this, and he was the one who got Disney to change their minds and cancel the project. And I don't blame him either. It's better to have one great film than one great film and a sequel that kinda tarnishes the reputation of the first. Also, let's start an argument in the comments. Is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie? Let me know what you think, and you can't say both. Coming in number 3, we have The Yellow Submarine. If Marvel has taught us anything, it's that people love collabs, whether it's Iron Man teaming up with Spider-Man, or in this case the Beatles teaming up with Disney. Back in 2011, Disney was looking into doing a remake of the animated movie about the Beatles that came out back in the 60s. That would have been wild. For the first time since Alice in Wonderland, Disney might have made a movie that was both appropriate for kids and appealing to 20-somethings that were pumped full of psilocybin. Now, even though this seems like a no-brainer, the movie was canned, mainly because the director and writer of the remake, Robert Zemeckis, just had a movie bomb. Disney loves to bring in new talent. I mean, they brought in Taika Waititi to direct Thor Ragnarok, and it was a smash hit, but they don't want to bring you in if you just laid a stinky egg at the box office. Coming in at number 2, we have the 7 Dwarves. Who were these hard-working mythical creatures before they ran into Snow White as she screamed through a haunted forest? Well, they lived a full life, and Disney wanted to make that on-screen canon. What's most enticing about this was it was supposed to be a Lord of the Rings style world that showcased the land that the 7 dwarves were actually from, with a complete backstory on why each one of them are the way that they are. It would have been so cool to see an explanation on why their personalities are so defined. But before you feel like you were robbed of a Snow White extended universe, let me tell you that these movies were supposed to be straight to DVD and were never planned for the big screen. Coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Monsters Inc. 2 Lost in SCARADISE. You know when a movie has a full title with a colon and a pun in its name, it was far down the production line. Well, you don't know that for sure, but with the details that were leaked about this movie, it was seemed that the script was done. All that needed to happen was Disney to give it the green light. Now, the movie was about Mike and Sully making their way over to the human world, as if having one human around wasn't enough to deal with. They thought they should head to another dimension where there are billions millions, but their motivations were just. They wanted to give Boo a birthday present. Just picturing them doing that makes me think of Sully putting the door back together so he can see Boo one last time, and I get so choked up. But when Sully and Mike Wazowski cross to the other side, they end up getting stuck in the other world. They then need to find their way back. Now, the movie didn't happen because the animation studio where the writers and scripters worked, Circle 7, ended up getting closed down, and thus Disney was much less interested in the project if they needed to find somewhere to have it made. Alright guys, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Jay Arena, and I'll catch you on the next one.